Hope you had a nice Christmas.
Yeah, it was okay. Yeah, it was good. Nice. Quiet, yeah.
Look, first off, can we just start with a team news injury update, I suppose, and more specifically about Christian Romero?
Yeah, not so great with Romero. Had a scan the other day, so he's got a hamstring strain, so we're looking at probably 5 weeks for him. Everyone else from the weekend, from the last game, it was a pretty demanding physically, in terms of the numbers we generated that day, both us and Everton. It was quite extraordinary. So fair to say the boys were a bit fatigued, but I had a couple of easier days, so everyone else should be okay.
How disappointing is it to lose Christian for that long? And I suppose you've talked about January and the need for a centre-back. Does that accelerate plans?
No, it doesn't change anything. It's just, like I said, disappointing to lose him for sure. We obviously missed him with the suspension, and now we just got him back and kind of steady things up. But obviously, with him missing again for quite a chunk of time, but it doesn't change really. You can't accelerate time, mate. It's still December. January 1st stays January the 1st, irrespective of our situation. So the plans and the planning are still in sort of the same shape.
Finally, for me, obviously we know you're going to lose Hyun-Min Son for a lot of January, if not all of January. I was wondering if you've got an actual sort of date about when he's going to go over to South Korea, because obviously you've got the game on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, not yet. I mean, it won't affect New Year's Eve game. We're just sort of in dialogue now, I think, with the three lads. I think Bissouma will probably leave a bit early. Obviously, he's suspended, and then Pape and Sonny. It'll be sometime in early January, but we haven't got official confirmation yet.
Jake. Hi, Ange. I just wanted to ask you about Richarlison. Obviously, he's hit form in the last 2 or 3 matches. Last time I was here, you said that you expected him to see an upturn because he was a bit freer mentally and obviously physically. Is that what you put it down to then? He's managed to free himself up, and we're now seeing the results of that on the pitch.
Yeah, like I said, I think I've said a few times. I mean, they're human beings, and when you don't feel 100% in yourself, whether that's physically or mentally, it's going to affect performance. And not that everything's rosy in his life now. I'm sure he's still got issues in there, but in terms of especially the physical side of it, he's the kind of the operation recovery he had from it. He came back to training, just you could tell he just felt a lot better about himself in terms of the way he was moving, the way he was training, and he was a lot freer in his movements. And I think that's allowed him to go into games now with more confidence, more self-belief about his body more than anything else. And sometimes that's all it takes. There's no doubt he's a talented player. He's scored plenty of goals in the Premier League. He's playing for his country. So, but at the same time, like I said, they're human beings, and sometimes when things aren't right, it affects performance and it affects their output.
Just a couple on Brighton then. They get a lot of praise for the way that they played. They certainly did when the new manager came in. Some people say that it's very difficult to play against them. Is that something that you agree with? And also, if so, why? What is it about them that makes them difficult to play against?
Yeah, no, their football's fantastic, and I think they probably do things a little bit differently to everyone else. I think, look, they're a very well-run club. They have been for quite a while. You could see, even under Graham, that they were making progress as a football club, and then Roberto's obviously come in, and he's always done sort of things fairly unique in his whole career, and he's brought that to the Premier League, and you got to respect that, because as we know, this is probably the toughest league competition in the world, and it can be easy to shy away from doing anything that's too different. But he's that's I don't know the man. I've never met him, but you can tell that he's pretty determined to do things his own way, and they do provide a different challenge from a lot of other clubs in the way they play, the way they keep the ball, the way they build up, the way they press. And it's great because, that's what you kind of want to be in these competitions, to get challenged in those kinds of ways. And there's a lot to admire about the way both the football club and Roberto and his players have gone about it.
Do you think they're as unpredictable to play against as people say they are?
It depends on sort of what you view as kind of, predictable or unpredictable. Ultimately, I've always said that every game is its own unique piece of living, breathing thing, no one can tell me how a game of football is going to go. Don't know if you watched last night, but at half time, you probably would have read it in a different story to what you wrote. That's the beauty of football, and as much as we, as managers, trying to control the whole thing, the reality of it is every football game's a life of itself, and what you've got to do is just try and prepare your team to deal with, whatever may happen in the course of the 9,500 minutes that transpire.
Thank you.
Ali, please.
Hi there, Ange. Obviously, it's been well known that you need another centre-back in this January window for quite a while, obviously probably towards the end of the summer window. Maybe the perception from the outside was perhaps it would be another left-sided centre-back, because obviously you only had Mickey van der Ven at that point. Obviously, Ben Davies has come in, done a good job in a kind of a makeshift role. Has the kind of idea shifted maybe towards being, as in over the course of time, to being maybe a right-sided centre-back you need, especially with the Romero news now, or is it just someone that can play either?
I don't sort of put as much stock into the whole left-sided, right-sided centre-back kind of scenario. We just need another player in that position that can provide, some more sort of depth for us and and the ability to change things up, and won't really matter whether it's left side or right side. It's more about the characteristics, the profile characteristics. I mean, we didn't go looking for a left-sided centre-back at the start of the year. It just happened that Mickey was the perfect centre-back, and even if we had another left-sided one, I still would have signed him. So, like I said, it's about looking at the right profile, the right characteristics we kind of need for that position at this point in time, and seeing what's available and going from there.
Just something towards the end of the Everton game, I noticed that Guillermo Vicario started to take quite long kicks from goal, and some of the goal kicks as well go quite long. Kind of feels like the antithesis of everything we've seen from you in the past. You like that kind of build-up from the back, the quick. Is that something that he was just naturally doing, or was it something you wanted because of the way the game was shaping at the end?
No, I mean, he took a couple of longer kicks, but, we're trying to win a game of football, and, like I just said a second ago, we like to try and control everything in a game, but ultimately it's the players who have that control, and, they'll always do what they feel is right. It's not the first time we've done it this year. Won't be the last time. It's all about game state. It's all about sort of what the players are feeling in that moment, what the information they have out there. Like I said, for me, I try and prepare the players in the best way possible for every challenge ahead, but there's always a uniqueness in whatever challenge they face out there, and all the tools we give them prior to the game, they're there for them to use, and that's one of them.
Last one from me. Dane Scarlett's come back, obviously, from Ipswich. Presumably that's more cover with Sonny going away. If let's say you were to sign another attacker in January, would there be any scenario where Alejo Valise maybe would head out on loan just for some games?
Oh, mate, there's a lot of moving parts you're just talking about there, mate. Look, it's good to get Dane back. Obviously, the loan move didn't kind of work out for him at Ipswich, which is disappointing for him, disappointing for us, because the reason we sent him out on loan is to get some game time with him and develop him. It hasn't worked out that way, so it made sense to bring him back. He's back training with us, and becomes available from January the 1st. And again, then it's up to him to, he'll stay with us till the end of the year, and hopefully, see how he trains and what opportunities may or may not come along, and we'll sort of address those situations then.
Okay. And we'll finish this section with George at the back, please.
Hi, Ange. With that Romero news, what's the kind of latest with Mickey van der Ven and his return? That I think he was at the darts a couple of weeks ago and said he might be back in 2 weeks to some fans. So I don't know how accurate that is. He was at Ali Pali for the World Darts.
The darts, okay, all right. Jeez, I think I've said before I wouldn't be taking players' sort of views on kind of their recovery process. Look, he's getting closer. We'll see him sometime in January. I don't think Burnley, but Man United on the 14th, I think potentially. But again, I don't look at comeback dates until I see him training with us, and he hasn't been part of the group. He's not due to be part of the group this week. We'll see how he's going by the end of the week. So once they start training with the group, then we can start thinking about when they'll be available. He's at the tail end of it for sure. So like I said, at some point, middle of January, definitely we'd think he'd be available. But again, how we use him then is going to be, after such a long absence, it's going to be depending on sort of where we feel he's at.
And obviously losing Romero is a big blow. Have you got the kind of added headache of whoever comes in, whether it's Eric, Ash, someone else? You've got to be mindful of they've not played a lot of games, and you don't want them to kind of break down straight away coming into the team. Well,
we've been in that sort of state for quite a while now. We've just had to throw people in. Ultimately, we can't, as much as you'd like to sort of bed guys in, but the reality is we obviously weren't in Europe, so we didn't have games to give games to these guys. So, and through a needs sort of basis, we've just had to throw them in. And to be fair, the majority have done super well for us. Guys like Emerson, like I said, Eric came in. Benny now I played a few games but hadn't played a lot. Lascelles, so Gil, I could go through quite a few that we're kind of throwing in fairly cold, and there's always that possibility that they could break down, but we've got no other choice.
And just funny for me, I don't know whether it was true or not, but around a year ago, before Zerbi got appointed, there was speculation in England about you potentially being involved in the run-in for the Brighton job. I wondered how far that ran in terms of yourself, and was it maybe the first time that your name was actually linked to a Premier League club?
No one knew about me a year ago, mate. You know that. So, no, look, I didn't have discussions with Brighton at the time, and to be honest, last year during the year, there wasn't really the possibility I was going to leave Celtic mid-season. I just didn't think that was. I'd only been there a year and a half, and like even though there was nothing real, not nothing real, but people weren't really saying to me that there's clubs that want to talk to you. I kind of knew in my mind that if I was going to do anything, it would have to be after the second year. I wasn't going to leave mid-year, so never entertained it. But like I said, I got great admiration for the football club, because they obviously. I've said a few times, you kind of like the clubs that have a plan and stick to it, and they're certainly one of those clubs.